Why are Badminton Horse Trials entries falling? And what does this actually mean for the future of elite eventing? For decades, badminton has been one of the most prestigious and demanding five-star events in the world. Riders did not simply enter badminton. They earned their place there through years of hard work, careful horse production, and consistent results. There was a time when the event was oversubscribed, when riders sat on waiting lists, and when just getting accepted meant that you had already reached an elite level in the sport. However, that picture is beginning to change. In recent years, entry numbers at badminton have declined, and for the first time in a long time, the waiting list has completely disappeared. This has led many people to ask whether five-star eventing is losing momentum or whether something deeper is happening within the sport. The reality is that this is not simply a story about fewer entries. It is a story about rising costs, increasing pressure on horse welfare, and the growing difficulty of producing and maintaining a true five-star event horse in modern competition. At first glance, the reduction in entries at badminton appears to be a straightforward issue. Fewer riders are entering, and the field is smaller than it once was. However, this surface-level interpretation does not capture the full picture. In recent years, qualification requirements for five-star events have become more demanding. Riders are now required to demonstrate consistent and high-level performances at lower levels before they are eligible to compete at badminton. This has raised the overall standard of competition, which is a positive development for the sport. At the same time, these stricter requirements have reduced the number of horses and riders who can realistically reach the five-star level. Each increase in qualification standards narrows the pool of eligible combinations. And over time, this has had a noticeable impact on entry-level numbers. Therefore, what we are seeing today is not a sudden decline in interest, but rather the long-term effect of a system that has become more selective and more demanding. To fully understand why fewer horses are reaching badminton, it is essential to consider the process of producing a five-star event horse. Developing a horse to this level is one of the most complex and demanding processes in equestrian sport. A successful event horse must excel in three distinct disciplines: dressage, cross-country, and show jumping. Each discipline requires a different combination of physical ability, technical skill, and mental resilience. This development cannot be rushed. It takes time, many years, often close to a decade, to produce a horse capable of competing at the five-star level. During this time, the horse must be carefully trained, gradually exposed to more challenging competitions, and managed in a way that preserves both its physical soundness and its mental confidence. During this time, the horse must be carefully trained, gradually exposed to more challenging competitions, and managed in a way that preserves both its physical soundness and its mental confidence. Even with the best training and management, there are no guarantees. Many horses do not progress to the highest level due to injury, limitations in ability, or simply a lack of suitability for the demands of the sport. As a result, the number of horses that successfully reach five-star competition is inherently limited. When additional pressures are added to this already narrow pipeline, the number becomes even smaller. One of the most significant factors influencing participation at badminton is the rising cost of showing and competing at the highest level. Competing in modern eventing requires a substantial financial investment. The cost of transporting horses to international competitions has increased significantly, particularly for riders traveling long distances. Fuel prices, vehicle maintenance, and international shipping costs all contribute to this growing expense. In addition to financial pressures, there are practical challenges associated with campaigning a horse at the 5-star level. Event horses cannot compete frequently at this level due to the physical and mental demands of cross-country. After completing a 5-star event, a horse requires time to recover and regain strength before it can compete again. This limits the number of opportunities a rider has to compete at the highest level within a given year. As a result, riders must plan their competition schedules carefully. They must choose events that align with the horse's level of experience, fitness, and readiness. This strategic approach often leads to fewer entries at individual events, as riders distribute their horses across multiple competitions or choose to skip certain events entirely. Additionally, riders must consider external factors such as ground conditions, course design, and the overall risk associated with each competition. These factors can influence whether a rider decides to enter badminton or to pursue alternative options. Another important factor influencing participation is the growing emphasis on horse welfare. Eventing has always been a demanding and at times risky sport. However, in recent years, there has been increased awareness of the importance of producing both horses and riders. This has led to changes in regulations, course design, and rider decision-making. Riders are now more focused on ensuring the long-term health and well-being of their horses. They are less likely to take unnecessary risks and more likely to withdraw from competition if conditions are not ideal. This shift in perspective reflects a broader change within the equestrian community. Success is no longer defined solely by completing a competition. It is also defined by how the horse is managed, how it performs, and how it is cared for over the course of its career. As a result, participation at the 5-star level has become more selective. Riders are choosing to compete only when they believe it is in the best interest of the horse, which naturally leads to smaller entry lists. Given all of these factors, it is important to consider whether the reduction in entries at badminton represents a decline in the sport or an evolution. While the number of entries may be lower, the quality of competition remains exceptionally high. The horses and riders who do compete at badminton are often among the best prepared and most experienced in the world. This suggests that the sport is not necessarily shrinking, but rather becoming more focused and more selective. The emphasis has shifted from quantity to quality, from participation to preparation. In this context, smaller entry lists may not be a negative development. Instead, they may reflect a sport that is adapting to new challenges and prioritizing sustainability. When we ask why badminton entries are failing, we must look beyond the numbers. The answer lies in a combination of factors, including the rising costs of showing and competing, the difficulty of producing a 5-star event horse, the practical challenges of campaigning at the highest level, and the increased focus on horse welfare. Badminton remains one of the most important events in the sport of eventing. However, it exists within a system that is changing, and those changes are shaping who is able to compete and how often they choose to do so. Ultimately, the future of 5-star eventing will depend not on the number of entries, but on the ability of the sport to balance ambition with responsibility.